The Meanest Doll in the World by Anne Martin and Laura Goodwin. Chapter 3. A Close Call. Even though going down the stairs was easier than going up, the dolls had to take their time. The attic stairs were not carpeted, so Annabelle and Tiffany and Auntie Sarah moved quietly and cautiously. Every time Annabelle looked at the floor below, she couldn't help but worry. What would happen if she were to slip and fall the rest of the way down? She didn't mention this, though, as brave Auntie Sarah and Tiffany scrambled ahead of her. When they reached the bottom, Annabelle peered around the door. "It must be later than we think," she whispered. "There's a lot of light in the hallway." "Hmm, by my calculations, it couldn't be later than 5 o'clock," said Auntie Sarah. 5 o'clock!" exclaimed Annabelle. "We were supposed to be home by 4. Mama and Papa." Tiffany gave Annabelle a little push into the hall. "Well, let's not waste time talking about it," she said. "Hurry up! Run!" Annabelle and Tiffany ran into the hallway ahead of Auntie Sarah. They had just passed Nora's room when Annabelle screeched to a halt and let out a small shriek. "What's wrong?" asked Tiffany. "I heard something." And at that moment, Annabelle, staring ahead of her, saw a pair of bare feet step from Kate's room into the hall. She almost shrieked again, but Tiffany clapped a hand over her mouth. Annabelle looked wildly round. Auntie Sarah had ducked back behind the attic door. Annabelle could see her shoes beneath it. The door to Kate's room was a few feet ahead. On the floor, outside of it, just inches from the doll, was Kate's backpack. "Quick!" said Tiffany in a loud whisper. "The attic!" "No, she'll see us!" Annabelle saw Tiffany's eyes jump hopefully to Nora's doorway. "We can't go there either," said Annabelle. She was feeling panicky. The bare feet were moving sleepily along the hallway, closer and closer. In a flash, Annabelle grabbed Tiffany by the wrist and yanked her towards the backpack. "In here," she said. Annabelle dove head first into the largest compartment of the backpack, with Tiffany just behind her. She tried not to squeal as she sat on something sharp, then felt Tiffany land on her head. The girls huddled together, breathing heavily and listening to the sounds from the hallway. They heard Kate's footsteps pad into the bathroom. Then the bathroom door was closed gently. "Safe," exclaimed Tiffany softly. "That was a close call. Good thinking, Annabelle." "Thank you. I hope Auntie Sarah saw us hide in here," Annabelle whispered. She frowned. How on earth could she have made such a mistake? If Kate is up already, it must be much later than 5. "Well, we can't worry about that now," replied Tiffany. "We'll have to figure out what to do. Do you think we have time to get out of here?" Annabelle didn't have a chance to answer. The girls heard the bathroom door open again. "Okay, as soon as Kate goes back to her room," Tiffany said quickly, "we'll climb out and we'll run into Nora's room. She's probably still asleep. You can hide with my family, and we'll just have to hope Kate won't notice you're missing from—" "Shh!" hissed Annabelle suddenly. "Shh! Shh!" Tiffany stopped talking as a hand appeared above the backpack and with a loud zip closed it up, leaving Annabelle and Tiffany in darkness. Annabelle grabbed for Tiffany's hand and held it tightly. Then the backpack was swooped into the air, and Annabelle felt Kate wrap her arms around it. She and Tiffany bumped up and down as Kate carried the backpack. "Where? Where are we going?" whispered Tiffany. "Shh!" was all Annabelle would reply. A few seconds later, the backpack was dropped to the floor. Annabelle crashed against Tiffany, but remained silent. The girls listened hard. They heard Kate's radio playing. They heard drawers opening and closing and small thumps and clatters as Kate got ready for school. And all the while, Annabelle hoped that the following things would happen. that Kate would partially open the backpack and that she would then forget what she was doing, abandon it, and go downstairs for breakfast. At which point, Annabelle and Tiffany would crawl out and go back to their homes. They would then have to admit to their parents what had happened, of course. But since Annabelle held Auntie Sarah responsible, she wasn't too worried about this. However, none of those things happened. Kate left the backpack closed, and presently she slung it up again and carried it downstairs. With a small thump, she deposited it on the floor. In the kitchen, in the hallway, kitchen, Annabelle decided, as she heard clinking and clankings and smelled toast and eggs. Annabelle wanted desperately to talk to Tiffany, but she knew better. It was a miracle she and Tiffany weren't already in dull state. The clinkings and clankings grew louder, and Annabelle heard voices. Soon the entire Palmer family had gathered for breakfast. Just when the noise in the kitchen became so loud that Annabelle wanted to put her hands over her ears, she felt Tiffany nudge her. Annabelle nudged her back. "Annabelle," Tiffany whispered urgently. "Shh! Oh, they can't hear us. Not with all that racket. Annabelle." "What?" "I'm sitting in gum." "Gum? Are you sure?" "Yes, I'm stuck in it. I can't move." Annabelle got to her feet carefully and held out her hand to Tiffany. "Here, let me pull you up." Tiffany took Annabelle's hand. Annabelle pulled and pulled and pulled. "I can't pull any," she said, puffing. And in that moment, Tiffany suddenly flew against her. The girls fell against the edge of a book. They hugged each other nervously. All they heard was the sound of chairs being pushed back and voices calling goodbye as Kate's mother and father left for their jobs. And then, "Nora, hurry up," called Kate, as once again the backpack was lifted into the air. Annabelle heard Grandma Catherine say, "Here, Kate, let me help you with that." And she and Tiffany were jostled about as Kate struggled to get her arms through the strap of the backpack. "Oh, there you are," said Kate a moment later. "Come on, Nora, let's go." "Goodbye, girls," said Grandma Catherine. "See you later." "Bye," Kate and Nora called back. A door closed, and Annabelle Doll was outdoors. She couldn't help whispering to Tiffany, "We're outdoors. Outdoors. I've never, ever been outdoors. I mean, not since our packing carton was delivered to Gertrude, and that was over 100 years ago." Tiffany gripped Annabelle's hand even harder. "I think we're going to school," she said. Bump, 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 bump. Kate ran. She skipped, she plopped on the sidewalk and retied her sneaker. She played a game of hopscotch with Nora when they found the hopscotch court chalked onto the sidewalk near school. Every time Kate moved, Annabelle and Tiffany were bounced or jostled or thrown from side to side. It was a horribly uncomfortable ride. And yet, Annabelle had to admit that it was an exciting adventure. "Nora," said Kate suddenly, "I want to save my hopscotch rock. Can you put it in my backpack for me?" "Sure," replied Nora, and the backpack was unzipped and a small rock was tossed inside. It tumbled through the heap of books and papers and settled in Tiffany's lap. "Thanks," said Kate. Nora didn't bother to zip the backpack closed, and a small amount of sunlight filtered down to Annabelle. She looked around. She was sitting on the edge of a paperback book. "Mary Poppins," she whispered as she read the writing on the spine. Next to her was a pencil covered with tooth marks, the eraser chewed off. On the other side of the pencil was Tiffany. Her legs were tucked under a piece of paper, the rock resting in her lap. "Help get this off me," Tiffany hissed. "It weighs a ton." As Annabelle huffed and pushed, Kate let out a yell. "Harmony! Ayana! Hi!" And then, Hi, Rachel. Kate stood still for a moment. All right, Nora, there's Martha. You walk with her to your classroom. Grandma Catherine will pick you up when kindergarten's over, okay? Okay. Bye, Kate. Annabelle heard Nora's footsteps running off. And then she heard so many voices all at once, she couldn't even tell who was talking. Kate, look what Harmony got yesterday. I didn't finish our reading homework. Did you, Rachel? The science fair is coming up. Oh no, there's Francine. Don't let her see us. With this, the backpack lurched as Kate broke into a run. For a few minutes, all Annabelle heard was heavy panting and the sound of running feet. Presently, the light in the backpack grew dimmer, and the noises changed from outdoor sounds to a roar of loud voices. Annabelle smelled new smells, smells she couldn't quite identify. She looked up and saw a beige ceiling lurch by, dotted with dim lights. Tiffany, she dared to whisper. I think we're in Kate's school. Who's Francine? Asked Tiffany. That girl Kate's always talking about. The one. The backpack suddenly tipped from side to side, then was dropped to the ground. Annabelle looked up just in time to see Kate's hand reaching down. It nearly closed around Tiffany, who leaped aside and squeezed herself into a far corner of the backpack. The hand grabbed up the hopscotch rock, then withdrew, then reached in again and pulled out a notebook. And then the backpack was hoisted high in the air, where it came to rest on something hard. Look, Ayana, said Kate, I found this rock. Kate's voice trailed off as the bell rang loudly. The roar of voices grew dimmer until finally Annabelle heard nothing. What happened? Where is everybody? Asked Tiffany. In their classrooms, replied Annabelle importantly. For years, she had heard tales about school, first from Gertrude, then from Catherine, then from Annie, and now from Kate. Tiffany knew very little about school. Where are we? She asked. Maybe over Kate's coat hook? Annabelle and Tiffany waited. When they heard nothing for several minutes, Tiffany dared to paw through the things in the backpack and peer through the opening in the zipper. What do you see? Asked Annabelle. A long, long room. The hallway, I guess. It's lined with coats hanging on hooks, and then there are these shelves above the hooks, and I can see lunches and backpacks with sneakers and things on them. And on the floor under the coat hooks are more backpacks and sneakers. Are there any people in the hall? Nope. Where are we? Asked Annabelle. On one of the shelves. Oh. Annabelle got to her feet and stood next to Tiffany, peeking through the opening. Just think, she said. We could spend all day watching from here and no one will see us. Then when we get home, we'll be able to tell everyone what school is like. We could tell them even more if we could visit the classrooms. Oh, well, said Annabelle. We ought to have enough time, murmured Tiffany, looking down. For what? An exploration in school. Oh, Tiffany, we can't. Why not? We have all day. I don't want to be stuck here for hours and hours. We can sneak out and look around and then get back in Kate's backpack again before school's over. But Tiffany, look how high up we are. How are we going to get down to the floor? Oh, I'm sure there's a way, Tiffany replied, sticking her head through the opening. Now you see, this is exactly what your aunt's spider farm would be good for. We need one of those ladders she was talking about. Oh, well, said Annabelle again. But we don't have one, so we'll just have to figure something else out. Come on, Annabelle. Annabelle climbed out of the backpack after Tiffany and sat on the edge of the shelf. Okay, said Tiffany, we'll slide down the straps of the backpack to Kate's coat. and then we'll crawl down the coat until we can drop on the floor. Annabelle said nothing. Come on, we have to go. When are we ever going to get to be in school again? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You're not going to let it go by, are you? And Annabelle, picturing herself sitting alone in the soap dish, said, No, I'm not. Okay, let's go.